Welcome to ACC Nation. That's Will Ogenin. I'm Jim Quist, and we hope that you're having a great day.
He is. I just hope you're surviving.
You're surviving. There we go. Hey, man, we're moving from basketball into a ton of other sports, a lot of spring sports on the schedule. So we're going to talk a lot about that before we get into basketball.
Let me stop you 1 second and ask you a question. What is the spring you speak of?
Well, yeah, it's doing what up where you live?
It was snowing this morning, and it's supposed to snow again tomorrow. So
that's so many levels of wrong. No
it's Minnesota in April. This happens.
Yeah.
Especially in the early part.
No thanks. I've already mowed the lawn like 3 or 4 times. The whole night, and I'm good with that. I hate mowing the lawn, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
For anybody who wants to know, I absolutely hate mowing the lawn. But
anybody in the Richmond area wants to mow Jim's lawn
for free.
For free. Cheapskate.
That's right. That's why I mow it myself. Hey, and that's probably about the only decent exercise I get on a weekly basis. So that's pretty sad, isn't it? I mean, just think about that.
Yeah.
Lounge lizard and all that. So anyway, let's get into sports. So congratulations to Notre Dame, men and women who have won the NCAA 2022 fencing championship. It's their second in a row. That's a fabulous job on their part. It's pretty amazing too. They have built a powerhouse when it comes to fencing. AVCA college beach volleyball rankings are out. Florida State is number 4. And D1 baseball, we're going to talk a little bit in detail about baseball before we get into basketball, okay? And we're going to touch on basketball for sure. Don't you worry. We're going to talk about it. D1 baseball, top 25. The big surprise, but not really, is Virginia is at number 3 in the top 25. They have been playing lights out ball.
Literally, I mean, they were unranked just a matter of weeks ago when they were literally bludgeoning opponents, scoring double-digit runs like on an almost every game basis. And like, okay, they haven't played nobody, and then they started playing people and were putting up double-digit runs against people. Yeah. It helps to have Geloff be basically borderline unconscious. Like pretty much everything he hits is going out of the park. Obviously, Kyle Teal, when he keeps his helmet on, is a clutch player again. The pitching staff, this was kind of the question mark going into the season, and starters and relievers have all been, really downright awesome. I mean, Ortiz, he's actually mound tonight, and we were recording this on Wednesday night. He's on the mound as they are taking on Liberty, and he's had a really strong season. And you got the bullpen. Remember, their backup quarterback Jay Woolfolk is part of their bullpen, and he's had a really nice season too. Yeah, this season has gone way better than everyone expected. And obviously, they have a huge series coming up this weekend against Miami.
Yep. Speaking of Miami, they're at number 8 in the top 25. At number 12, it's Louisville, the perennial powerhouse in the ACC. Mm-hmm. Notre Dame is having a pretty decent year so far. They're at number 13. Florida State is back at 20. Don't expect them to stay there very long. NC State, another team, at 21. Don't expect them to stay there very long. And UNC at 22. Again, don't expect those teams to stay back that far for very long because they have got it together. ACC this year is a powerhouse in college baseball, and this is going to be a fun year to watch. Let's bounce over to men's lacrosse and then women's lacrosse. Virginia got thumped by Richmond. A little bit of a surprise there, maybe not for U of R fans. Virginia dropped down to number 6 this week in the poll. At number 12, it's North Carolina. At number 13, Duke. And at number 18, Notre Dame. Now, let's take a look at what's going on with the women. UNC is at number 1, Syracuse 2, Boston College 3. Own that Women's Lacrosse Bowl.
Yep.
Number 15, Duke. Number 19, Notre Dame. Virginia comes in at 23 and Louisville at 25. So let's head out to the links for just a few moments. Men's golf, top 25. Number 7, UNC. 11, Georgia Tech. 13, Notre Dame. Number 19, Wake Forest. At number 20, it's Florida State. And number 21, Clemson. Now, no surprise over on the women's side as Wake Forest is at number 3. Wow, they have just got one heck of a program going on at Wake Forest. Virginia is at number 7 this year. Number 14, Florida State. Duke, who is just watch your back. That's all I got to say, because year after year, they always come up with just an awesome finish. They're 23. And congratulations, Hokies. You have really hit it home with this coach that you hired, man, because she has been bringing this team along slowly but surely, building this program. The Hokies ranked at number 24 in women's golf.
Yeah, and they're relatively new to this to the women's golf program, right?
Yes.
In the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. It takes a little while to build that. Maybe a little bit longer in golf, I would think, but that's impressive to say the least. Let's take a look at some other sports. What's going on? Rowing. Virginia's at number 10. Duke at number 11. Hey, Syracuse, number 14. Syracuse building a program there in rowing, and that's not an easy thing to do. Rowing is really a very it's a difficult. I can't even imagine doing that, to be honest with you. My arms and shoulders just hurt thinking about it. But
the best I can do is I row at the gym from time to time. So
it's fun to watch. And of course, there's a lot of leg power involved.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff going on there. So it's neat. So never underappreciate rowing, folks. Watch it as much as you can, because it's neat to watch, and to watch the mechanics that are involved in that, and the coordination.
Yeah, the coordination part, that's the key to it. It's especially when you got like the 4-person or whatever more, it's you got that's probably as much the key to as like getting as the strokes, just making sure you're all together and not messing up too much.
I'm always impressed by it, whether it's varsity 4 or varsity 8. It's just incredible stuff. Softball, number 2, Florida State. Now, normally year after year, Will, it would be that's it. But again,
but wait, there's more.
There is more. The ACC, I have to say, man, for the last couple of years, ACC has just been building in these sports in a way that it's really quite amazing. Softball, like I said, number 2, Florida State. Virginia Tech, number 4.
Wow, that's impressive. I follow several Virginia Tech people on Twitter, and they have brought up the fact that this softball program has really been, progressing nicely. And this is, that it's probably, if you're to say, if there was one sport where they have a shot of winning their first championship, and it'd probably be that or wrestling right now.
Yeah. Number 13, Duke. Number, I believe I've got it's 18. Sorry, I can't even read my own handwriting. That's a pretty common thing I have every day. Number 18, Clemson. That's a new program. I can remember when they got their first recruit in, and it's been a couple of years, and they've been building. But to be ranked this quickly, again, a fabulous job by that coach there. He's doing a great job. At number 25, it's Notre Dame. So usually in softball, the ACC, other than Florida State, is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, that's been the case for a number of years. Is they always had the pitching that just like kept everyone else in check. But Yeah, it's the whole conference is getting so much better at softball, and it's nice to see, a full, the league getting so much more competitive.
Yeah. And hey, it's no longer dominated by Big 12, Big 10, and I mean,
Mhm,
and on and on. And it's good to see the ACC emerging
mhm.
in these sports. Outdoor track and field, the rankings for men: number 12, Miami; number 17, Clemson; and number 24, Virginia. For the women, it's number 12, Duke; and number 13, NC State. That's an interesting turn of events there. In tennis, Wake Forest is number 7 on the men's side, Virginia at number 8. Number 17 is North Carolina. Number 19, Duke. Number 21, NC State. And number 25 is Louisville. And in women's tennis, this should not come as any surprise to anybody who watches women's tennis, especially ACC. UNC is number 1. Number 3 is NC State. Number 8, Miami. Number 10, Duke. And number 14, Virginia. People having a very, very good year, spring sports wise. This is going to be just a blast. If you thought basketball was the ending to basketball was a fantastic season, then you've got a lot to look forward to with spring sports. Make your transition. Now, a lot of people are diehard one sport or two sport. I will just encourage you that with this much athleticism and skill in the ACC, that you should be latching on to one or two. And just, even if you're not really totally into it, just keep an eye on some of these competitions throughout the season, because I'm telling you, there are a ton of teams here that have a good shot at a national title.
And you may mention it. I mean, it's nice to hear you say it when you're getting rolling down these rankings, and you're not just mentioning like one school, two schools. It's 4, 5, 6.
Right.
So it shows you just to the depth of the conference and all these sports that they're competitive, and it's nice to see.
Speaking of competitive, Will, and I know you have been itching to talk about basketball. Flea powder, dude. All right. Well, let's start out with the NCAA women. Quite an ending there for the two teams that we were really hoping that we're going to bring home a national championship. Louisville and NC State. And wow. Let's start with this NC State. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week, and or last time, sorry. NC State losing to UConn 91-87, double overtime. And that was a game that I won't forget. And I hope that anybody who had a chance to watch that did, because that was just crazy, off the chart, good basketball.
Yeah, it was. We obviously talked about this last week, and the amount of clutch shooting there was in this game on both sides. And then also we talked about, why the hell are they is UConn at a home court advantage as a 2 seed in the second weekend games. I think Bridgeport was, if I remember correctly, something like 75 miles from Stores or UConn's campuses. So well, you can drive an hour and a half or so to basically a home game. Yeah, that's not necessarily fair, but no shame in the way NC State's season ended. That was, they had a phenomenal season. They were obviously just, they were among the top of the ACC. Obviously, it was them in Louisville. They were just unbelievable the entire season, and just came up a little bit short in the Elite Eight. Like I said, phenomenal season, nothing to hang your head about. The ladies played very, very well, and it's just it reminded me a lot of the Purdue Virginia Elite Eight game from 3 years ago, where it was just clutch shot making, and you just didn't want to see either team lose, but unfortunately somebody had to.
Yeah, indeed. Cadane, Brown, Turner, Crutchfield, Jones, Boyd, double-digit game.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing performance. And it wasn't just those players, but those are the ones we're going to focus on for NC State. And man.
And if I thought I saw some of Canadian going pro. So if that's the case, she's probably going to be drafted pretty high. She was a really good player.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been quite a few players as of late who've come out of NC State, and the ACC have gone to the WNBA and done very well. Again, double overtime, 91-87 the final, and NC State. Boy, you're in our hearts, man. That game, that was just an awesome game, and it pretty much kind of overshadowed a lot of the rest of what happened. And the next game, Louisville lost to South Carolina 72-59, and so Smith, Cochran, and Engsler led the Cards in their effort. But South Carolina has become what used to be referred to as UConn, the powerhouse of women's basketball. And of course, South Carolina went on to crush UConn 64-49. And I use crush liberally because I don't like UConn. So,
yeah. But yeah, the game against Louisville, it was a tough loss for Louisville. Obviously, they just could not match up with them. Defensively, South Carolina's defense was just really top. Obviously, Aaliyah Boston was player of the year. She had 23 points and 18 rebounds in this game. They held Van Lith to 4 of 11 shooting, which is rough. Yeah. They were 1 of 8 from 3. And I was a little surprised that they only took 8 threes, considering they have Boston in the middle, who is obviously one of the, she was the player of the year, but a really good defender too. Just the shots were not falling on that, and they still shot 43% from the field. So it wasn't necessarily that, but they also turned it over 15 times. They only had 7 free throw attempts. So yeah, just a little disappointing in the way that ended. Obviously, we talked about some of the stars of the game for Louisville. Engsler had 18 points and 9 rebounds, but she turned it over 4 times and fouled out. She shot 8 of 17 from the field, so she had a really good game. Cochran, obviously 14 points on 6 of 11 shooting, had 3 steals. But like I said, all 5 of South Carolina starters were in double figures in that game. And we'll get into the championship in a moment, but that was just, we saw why South Carolina was one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah. Amazing effort by Louisville in a great season for them as well. It just, sometimes you run into those brick walls, and South Carolina is a brick wall.
And I joked last week about Dawn Staley being an ACC killer, and lo and behold, I think that was the third ACC team she beat in this tournament.
Yep. She's, man. Yeah. This is, we talked about this last week about how sometimes players don't become good coaches. Mm-hmm. Here's your exception.
Here's your exception to the rule.
Yeah. And they're not anomalies. They're out there. But to have a player of that caliber, collegiate and pro, and then go right into being a coach, she's very, very in tune with what's going on and what should be happening. And you watch her as a coach, and there's a lot of energy there. She's really into the game.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely. She did like I say, even that championship game, she used that defense to get, and she was really hot 3-point shooting. They were really hot to start the game. Destiny Henderson of South Carolina had the game of her life in that championship game. And I felt like every time I was looking up, she was hitting a three. So she was, you know, she's not there. She's not the star of the team. Obviously, Aaliyah Boston is, but Henderson, had 26 points in that game, and she took 20 shots. So that was, I mean, it was pretty much a volume shooting game, but like I said, she was very clutch on that. And Boston only had 11 points, but she had 16 rebounds. And obviously, the narrative for UConn was Paige Beckers, playing in her hometown, getting the championship game, but they really held her. And she was the only reason UConn was remotely close in this game. Mm-hmm. She had 14.6 rebounds, but it felt like she really didn't get going until the second half. They really held her in check for the most part. And, again, congrats to Dawn Staley. I kind of made a joke, not so much a joke, but I made a statement after the game Sunday night that it was fitting that, 3 years ago, Virginia won a title, the national championship here in Minneapolis. And then 3 years later, a Virginia alum, obviously probably the greatest women's basketball player to put on a University of Virginia uniform, wins the title in Minneapolis as well.
So that's why you live there. It's good luck for Virginians.
I mean, there are a few of us. I've met a few here and there. So
one or two. Yep. Good stuff overall. Women's basketball, again, next year is going to be fabulous to watch. Yep. It's going to be very entertaining.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the NCAA men's tournament. Wow. Who would have expected North Carolina and Duke to be in this position one more time with Mike Krzyzewski on his final ride, and his very first loss, I think, was to North Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, first and loss and last.
Yep. Wow. And the key to this game was Caleb Love. Love pumped in 28 points, UNC defeating Duke 81-77.
I said in our thread with Chris during that semifinal game that Caleb Love was it was the reason they were either going to win or lose that game. So I guess you could say it's a love-hate relationship.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, everybody, on the count of three, do your rim shot and then kiss it on to Will, 1, 2, 3. There you go. That's been.
Thank you. I'll be here all week. Don't forget to tip your waitresses.
That has been heard around the world, my friend. Wow.
Oh. Yes. It's been a long day. I'm tired. But anyways, this was just a phenomenal game. Like just back and forth the whole way. Just a great effort by UNC. Obviously, one of the stories that came out of the game on the North Carolina side, aside from Caleb Love, was Armando Bacot. I mean, he 11 points, 21 rebounds. That was like, he felt like he had every rebound. It's kind of true. They had 50 rebounds in the game, so he had almost half of them. But he did foul out at the end. He also injured his ankle towards the end of the game. And I kind of thought when he did that would kind of be it for North Carolina. But he was gone for a few minutes, came back in. They kept themselves in it, checked back in and made a difference. And obviously Love's three towards the end of the game to make it a 4-point game kind of put the the dagger in it. And say Love had 28 points on 11 of 20 shooting. RJ Davis was big in the first half. He had 18 points. Love and Leaky Black both played all 40 minutes in this game, and it shouldn't be a huge surprise because they they kind of call them the Iron Five. All five of them played no fewer than 33 minutes. And the only reason Baycott only played 33 minutes was between the injury and him fouling out.
Right.
But I think there's some good things, on the bench side to take out of this, and we'll get into that later. But yeah, the guard play was really good in this game, and it's kind of weird to know now that the next time we see Duke on the basketball court in November, Mike Krzyzewski will not be on the sidelines. He's been the coach of Duke since before I was born, and I'm in my 40s, so let's put it that way. Just an outstanding career. Duke gave him everything. Paolo Banchero was big in this game, 20 and 10. Mark Williams, only played 17 minutes in this game. They went for a little smaller lineup. Trevor Keels came off the bench, had 19 points and 14 shooting in this game. Neither team shot the three great. I mean, UNC was 10 of 26, but Duke only going 12 of 20 at the free throw line was kind of a big deal. But like I said, just a career is done. A career is over. Mike Krzyzewski is no longer the coach at North Carolina or at Duke's. Sorry, I was looking at North Carolina's logo while I was talking about this, but he's no longer Duke's coach. And I even joked after the game that Hubert Davis might get a lifetime contract for beating K in his last home game and ending his season in the Final Four. So quite the feather in his cap for his first season.
Exactly. I was impressed by Keel's 19 off the bench. That was something. And Banchero doing the 20 for Duke. That was what I remember growing up, Will, and our buddy Patrick, who started ACC Nation, who's a big North Carolina fan.
Yeah.
That's a type of game that both of us were used to seeing when we were younger, when we were kids, when they literally would wheel in the TV into a classroom and you'd be watching ACC basketball at school.
I swear I went to the wrong school system because I'd never heard of this until until I was on Twitter.
Yeah, I think it's the age thing. I think there came a point where it was like, we in a good day when the wind was blowing correctly, we had 2 good channels, maybe 3. Okay. That was it.
Uh-huh.
There was no cable. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, this tells you how things have changed dramatically. I was watching a YouTube video of a newscast that switched in, I think in the 60s, 64. No, it was on Reddit. In 1964, the newscast switched from black and white to color, and color had been approved for use, the standard in engineering and everything, in 53. So it took them that long to make those changes. And so you can see why, it took cable a long time to really get off the ground in smaller markets, especially. So, when you live in a small area and you can only get, 2 or 3 channels at most, and there's no cable. Yeah, everybody wants to see the game, teachers included, man. We want to see the game. So we watched it in school. And yeah, it's people shake their head at that. Like, I can't believe you guys did that. Believe me. There was a lot of other stuff we did too that you wouldn't believe, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, not sure that's family friendly.
Well, nah, never mind. There was a joke there. I'll leave it alone. So yeah, and I had mentioned this to you when we were talking on the podcast about how I thought Mike Krzyzewski wasn't doing well health-wise, and he just looks like it's time. And
Yeah.
I hope that he's in fairly decent health, or at least he regains his health.
Yeah.
Because,
I know we were making that point to each other during the Sweet 16 game because you could just tell he's just
yeah,
limping and hobbling because of his, he's had back problems for a long time. And I think that's why he's retiring more than anything. Is I think just the back is too much for him.
yeah. It's only so much that you can take pain threshold wise over a
Yeah.
period of time. There's some resistance to, your body provides you with some chemical infusion naturally to help with pain, but after a while it wears on you, man. It wears on you. It depresses you, go down the line. And it's tough on people. And
Mhm.
it looks to me like it's had its effect on Coach K.
Yeah.
Hope the best for him. Really do. Anyway, that ended Duke's run. And it was the typical, as I got off on the path there. That was what I grew up with, watching UNC and Duke. It was always a battle, and it was always so much fun to watch. And then the trash talk in between these two was glorious. But anyway, at that point, UNC moved forward to face Kansas. Now, I know you picked Kansas in your bracket, and I can see why. I knew they were a fast team. They were quick and they were physical. But I gotta say, and I think you do too, UNC was very surprising in this game. They
In a good way.
up. Yeah, they stepped up big time. What a heck of a game.
Yeah, let me just for before we move on, I would like to invite everybody to go back to last week's podcast and listen to all of my predictions where let me do my best emperor voice here. Everything is proceeded as I have foreseen. As I nailed all the final four, or nailed the winners of the final four games and the championship in both the men's and women's bracket. Now, but on to the championship game. Yeah, like you said, when Carolina got out 15 at halftime, I'm like, wow, they really Kansas got out early. Like what was it, 7-0 or something like that?
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, that was real quick. And then Carolina was just really unfazed by it. They ended up going up 15 at halftime, and I'm sitting there like, they really might do this. Got the lead up to like 16 or something at one point.
Yep.
But I know Kansas has shown in this tournament that they're a second half team. Remember, they held Miami to like 15 points. They had a big second half against Villanova in the Final Four game.
Yep.
And obviously they did the same thing in this championship game against Carolina. I think they scored something like 47 points in the second half. And a lot of that was, like say Ochai Agbaji and McCormick. McCormick probably should have been most outstanding player of the Final Four instead of Agbaji. But we saw these guys for Kansas, and Christian Brown as well. He stepped up in the second half, and I think what kind of ended up dooming UNC in the end was obviously Baycott was hobbled. You could tell he was 3 of 13 from the field, still had 15 and 15. It was everybody else that stepped. Brady Manick, 13 points, 13 rebounds. RJ Davis, 15 points, 12 rebounds. Puff Johnson off the bench, I thought he played a great game. He had 11.6 boards. He had 11.6 boards, 1 assist, and one big blow chunks. But he played very well, and this was actually a good sign for next year, seeing a game, Johnson have a game like that, because he'll be ready to step up. Should I know Manick is gone, and maybe Baycott looks to go too, and that's still up in the air, but this is a quite a remarkable run for the Tar Heels, coming within 3 points of the national championship game. And as we go back and we mentioned during the Duke, our talk about Duke, that Caleb Love was either going to win or lose them. And unfortunately, his shooting lost them this game. 5 of 24 from the field. And it wasn't just him. I mean, RJ Davis was 5 of 17. So you're looking at 10 of 41. My quick math tells me that's less than 25%.
Yeah, I don't think Leaky Black had too good of a game either. He only had 2 points, right?
Yeah, but he was in foul trouble. But a lot of, he had 4 fouls and he still played 30 minutes, but he only took a couple of shots. That shooting isn't his thing. He's right. The defender, and he did a pretty good job. Abaji only took 9 shots in this game. He was on him a lot. He was just, he's been a great defender. And if you followed UNC basketball, you knew that was his kind of bread and butter. He was going to guard your best shooter. And he did a really good job of that all year. He was kind of he was behind Mark Williams and Reese Beekman in terms of, defensive player of the year recognition, but his defensive capabilities were every bit as good as those two.
2 things I want to point out about this game that I don't know if anybody is, I'm sure somebody is. I can't listen to everybody and everything, every source. So I'm sure somebody has addressed this. But I said this when we were talking, between ourselves during the game. Maddox, he had to have had a concussion.
Oh, yeah.
And I will, look, I'll say this from the standpoint that of my experience coaching, plus I used to be an EMT. My wife used to be an EMT. She said the same thing. We looked at each other, and when the replay was done where he got hit in the face with an elbow, he had whiplash, and I think the rest of the game, he just was not playing up. I don't think he was playing 100%. Now, no excuses, but I think it ought to be brought out that, here you go with somebody obvious. To me, I think it was pretty obvious that he probably was concussed, but they didn't take him out of the game. Now,
yeah.
There's so many ifs, ands, and buts here.
Yeah.
I just don't think he was clicking on all cylinders for quite a while. And then watching Baycott twist his ankle again. When I saw that, I just went, oh boy. If it would have been interesting to see how that would have ended up, and it may have ended up the same way, but if both of those guys were at 100%, what would have been, because when you have a game this close, 72-69, this close, I mean, this was a wild game. And I gotta say, I was impressed by both teams, but being ACC Nation, I'm going to say I was very impressed by North Carolina. What those guys did, they stepped up in a way at the end of the season that was just phenomenal. And I know that somebody had tweeted and asked us, where was this team at the beginning of the season, and addressed it to Thamel and a bunch of other people. And I don't know how we got in there, but hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Nobody answered you. I'm sorry. We were too engrossed in the game, but I think that
I see it now.
That everybody forgets is that basketball, unlike a lot of other sports, is a progression. And, you start off the season and it could suck, could absolutely just blow chunks. And for several teams in the ACC this season, that's exactly what it did. But that doesn't mean that it's going to continue to do that right up until the end. Some teams start to come together and click late in the season. That's what happened here.
I just pulled up that tweet you were talking about. It tags John Feinstein, Jay Billis, Jeff Eisenberg, and ACC Nation, and then somebody who works with UNC in some capacity. I mean, cool. Our
Nobody
name is
answered it.
visible.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry, dude.
I would have,
Yeah.
But like I said, we were all engrossed in the game.
Yeah, I hardly even tweeted during the game, other than like the little bit during Mannix.
Mhm.
After Manic got hit like twice. Yeah, you made that point, and I'm sitting here thinking, NFL has the independent doctors that are there, to check in case there's a concussion, potential concussion. I'm wondering if that's something the incident that they might look at going forward, for situations like this. I don't know how necessary, like, what are the odds, but again, you never know. It's an interesting subject.
I think it's very reasonable. I remember doing a podcast several years ago where I interviewed a guy with a youth sports league about concussion. And this is back when the NCAA was coming out with the concussion protocol. And soccer is right up there.
That's for sure.
And but also, of course, football, but basketball is too. With a high concussion rate.
Yeah.
And if you watch a game like this and you understand why. I remember playing basketball when I was in high school, and I went up, and when I came down, my feet were swept out from underneath of me. So I came down horizontal. My head hit the floor, and it must have sounded like a shotgun, because everybody just stopped, and I saw stars. I had no clue where I was for about a minute, and got up, sat down for a couple minutes, got right back in the game. Should I have?
But you come from the days where they would just tell you to rub some dirt on it and go back in.
That's funny, because that's exactly what I told my wife. I said, just rub some dirt on it. And she just looks at me like, you're out of your mind. I said, hey, that's what the coaches used to tell us. So,
but she's not wrong, though.
No, she's absolutely right about me being out of my mind. That's why she's so attracted to me. What can I say? So anyway, North Carolina falling in the national championship. Going to be an interesting year next year. I think a lot of the players that got into the NCAA tournaments, men's and women, the ones that are going to be back, there's going to be a lot of talent, and they're going to have that experience, and they're going to have a taste. They want to win. And when you get this far and you start getting that taste, yeah, you start looking at the video, and you replay it over and over and over again in your head, and you go, yeah, I know what to do differently this time. So next year, going to be fun. Going to be a blast. This was an awesome basketball season for the ACC, aside from everything prior to the ACC tournament. So